I'm watching Joe Rogan, and he asked the guy who's on his show if it's even possible to build a building that goes out into space. And the guy's like, I don't think it's possible because it wouldn't be structural enough to like hold itself up. But it is actually possible because if you build a building tall enough that it actually goes into outer space, the centrifugal force of the Earth now you can't see me. The centrifugal force of the Earth rotating will cause enough outward spin to keep the tower up. So if you build it tall enough, the bottom will still be affected by Earth's gravity, but you have to build it at the exact height from the ground so that you build it tall enough that it's not, the weight of the building does not crush itself under Earth's gravity, and that has enough weight in space that the centrifugal force that it... Cat wants attention again. So the centrifugal force that would be created by the Earth spinning would cause it to, enough of it would be... That's what I'm dealing with. So anyways, it is possible to build a tower that is tall enough that it goes out into space, because the spinning of the Earth would keep it out there, but you can't have it too long because the spinning of the Earth would actually, there'd be more weight on the outward motion of it, that it would like launch itself off into space. So you have to find that even balance between the gravity of Earth keeping it down and the spinning of the Earth launching it out. You have to find the even balance of weight for the tower. It would have to be like on or near the equator, because the Earth like tilts according to summer and winter conditions. It tilts just a little bit. It would have to be as close to the equator as possible, so that even when it's tilted during the peak of the seasons, it's still not tilted enough that the centrifugal force would cause it to angle according to the land. So say you're in Alaska and it's like winter time. So Alaska during wintertime is like that, but the Earth is spinning still like that, sort of. Like that. So you would have the tower be like this, but the Earth is spinning like this. So it would kind of like be like that, and it would kind of like lean. And unless you built its base to allow it to tilt and lean however much it wants, then it'll literally break off from its foundations. So yes, you can theoretically build a tower out into space. And one of them, either Joe Rogan or his guest, brought up the idea of building something that would go all the way to the moon, which would be highly improbable. I don't know if or how much distance varies, yet I know the distance from the moon to the Earth varies, because we get big moons and little moons, because I do know the moon gets closer and whatnot during certain times, or at least appears to be, I don't know. But yeah, it would have to be some really nice, nifty setup in order to create a tower that's going from the Earth to the moon. But the problem with that is that I have to be on some sort of track or a levitating thing, so that it could attach to the moon and just circle around the Earth. Because the moon obviously circles around the Earth far more than the Earth circles around the sun. So that's my opinion on whether or not it's possible for us to have a skyscraper that's tall enough to go out in outer space. Theoretically, yes, it can be done. This is probably a day or two later, but I'd like to add to that there's a lot of space junk and satellites out there, so the Space Administration and NASA and all those organizations that do satellite stuff, they would I think my foster cat just accidentally fell off my bed. Or maybe jumped off. So they would have to definitely organize the orbits of all those satellites to miss, or you want attention? Is that what you want? They would have to organize all those satellites to miss that tower, or that tower would have to be so strong that satellites could crash into it at the 17,000 miles an hour that they're going and not harm it. But then the satellites would have to be so strong that they wouldn't break upon impact, because, well, actually, they might have to be going faster than that, or they might have to be able to stay on faster speeds than that, because they could be going in opposite directions. Yeah, it would be a lot easier to and safer for the ISS if the space organizations handle the trajectories well enough that the orbits of the satellites would just completely miss the tower. And the same with the ISS, depending on how large that space tower is built. In order to not have to worry about the trajectory of the satellites to miss the skyscraper or the space scraper, we would have to build satellites that were pretty much indestructible in case the space scraper hit the satellite at the opposite speed, in the opposite direction, whatever speed that might be, at least like 20,000 miles an hour, probably, and neither one of them would be harmed, which would be hard to do. And because if they were to run into each other, then that would create a lot of trouble for the ISS, especially depending on how high of orbit they are. So there's definitely would be a lot of planning going on to miss a tower that was who knows how wide. That's the only problem I can think of, minus the structural problems of the centrifugal force of the gravity and just the tensile strength that the structure would have to have not to get ripped off the Earth from all those g-forces of spinning around and around rapidly through zero-g area. So yeah, that's the only real problem I can think of right now, which is why I'm recording this video, to add that problem to that idea, is the idea of satellites crashing into the tower, which would just make a lot of mess, which is no good for anyone, especially the astronauts up there.